You're listening to the Soulless Minions of Orthodoxy, alternative DVD commentaries. Our movie for today is called Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. It is from 1982. Do I have that correct, guys?
I believe so.
And by guys, I mean Mike Ortiz and Damon Shaw, the very excellent hosts of Geek Fights. Say hello, guys.
Hello.
Hello, guys.
All right. Well, we don't really do a lot of preamble here at the Soulless Minions studio, but we're just going to go ahead and get started. So if you want to watch the movie with us, go ahead and put in your theatrical edition of The Wrath of Khan, because if you're watching the director's cut, well, you're going to be out of sync. So put that in. Fast forward a little bit to where the Paramount logo fades to black, and for my counterclock, it's about 12 seconds. Either or, as long as you get close enough, you should be fine. I'm going to give you a countdown, then we're going to get started. Here comes the countdown. 3, 2, 1. Unpause. Paramount Pictures presents. Well, let's explain up front what we're doing here.
Yeah, this is a nitpickers commentary, because as Mike would argue all the time, the arguments that people make against other Star Trek movies and lots of other movies in general, you could make against Star Trek 2 and it would seem like a bad movie too, because Michael does it for Star Trek 3. Star Trek 3 comes out as a bad movie when you use the logic that he puts down. So we're going to use his logic, well, some of it, with Star Trek 2 and see how it works out.
Yeah, I mean, this is the basic idea is you can really tear apart any movie, and I love this movie. This may be my favorite Star Trek movie, but if you the choice to go in and just sort of rip apart little things and ignore kind of the good things, you can do with almost every movie, even great movies like this one. So yeah, I mean, even though we're going to be kind of doing a little bit of a more serious version of Mystery Science Theater 3000, but also hopefully entertaining, that's really kind of what we're doing here, is taking a look at something that we all think is great and that we love, but we're still going to rip it apart.
And this is your baby. I mean, you've been wanting to do this for a long time.
This is an idea I had, primarily because a lot of people would have like strange criticisms of other movies that really I thought were just kind of nitpicks, and you can do that with this movie especially.
Is there anything you'd like to nitpick about the Starfield right now?
It was actually the first time I saw the movie, I was disappointed that we didn't get the Jerry Goldsmith theme from Motion Picture, and I understand why. But I always loved that, and I was like, oh, I kind of liked it, even though this is good music by James Horner.
As we see his credit on screen. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to mention that before we actually get into the movie, you can talk about the music. I mean, we went from Goldsmith to Horner. How do you think the change went up, guys?
Oh, for me, I think Horner was a much better choice.
Do you think so?
Movie. Well, he had that kind of nautical theme, even though Goldsmith is a better composer overall. I really like the way this movie sounded in that way. I thought it was pretty. I mean, the battle scenes especially. Yeah, the theme is not as memorable. It's not as powerful.
I guess I have a problem with it, because that theme is extremely memorable for me, but that's only because I worked in the Star Trek The Experience retail stores. And if you were in the retail stores, we had on a loop, thanks to Vernon Wilmer, all the Star Trek music, just the non-audio. So the ones that I liked, I would hear. It's actually kind of amazing.
It's the only time we see a reference to the date in the 23rd century, which I love.
Yeah.
Spock's ear. It's great. Nick Meyer wanted to open that way during his commentary.
I love the 24th century vector graphics.
Oh, it's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't it great? And the fire extinguisher on the wall.
And you notice the sign? It said no smoking.
Yeah.
Had a no smoking sign on the bridge. Okay.
Now, I remember getting kind of freaked out by, holy shit, that's again, some more lovely vector graphics. Now, okay, here's problem number one. What is up with this neutral zone? A neutral zone is kind of a barrier between two areas, and this is just this region of space that's sort of round in the middle of nowhere. What is neutral about it?
Well, you're not the only one who brings that up. I was actually listening to the audiobook of the Nitpicker's Guide to Star Trek, and they do mention this. They do mention this.
It really doesn't make any sense spatially.
No, it doesn't. They mentioned that in the original series, it was set up as the neutral zone was a barrier between the Romulans and the Federation, and that using it as a Klingon, division between Federation and Klingon space, Didn't make a whole lot of sense in this case, the way these vector graphics are displaying it, anyway. And the fact that she says "damn," was that emotional?
Well, originally, wasn't she supposed to be a half Romulan, half Vulcan? But that got kind of left out.
That got lost in the shuffle.
Well, was that actually
doesn't she cry at the end?
Yeah, she does. But was that actually in their mindset when they filmed it? Was Nick Meyer saying
it was in the novelization?
Yeah.
Well, the novelization was after the movie, right?
But sometimes they're done off the original script.
Okay. Well, I meant like
early draft of the script. I think at one point she was, and then they ditched it. But some things still remain. Now, I wonder, would a better solution to the Kobayashi Maru be to say, like, fuck it, we can't go in there and move on, and then you never get in the fight?
Yeah.
Well, I remember reading in a Star Trek novel or hearing about it that Chekhov, when he took the Kobayashi Maru, actually self-destructed the ship because he said, well, you told me to blow the Klingons up, so I blew them up.
And Scotty transported photon torpedoes at the axes of their linked shields because that was some engineering trick that that got made them take. Now here's another problem: the Kobayashi Maru itself.
All right,
it is a simulation. It is a test of some kind, and as we find out, it is a test of character, how you face death. But this is just a simulation. How is this really a test of character?
If you're not actually in a real situation, you won't take it seriously.
Is this any different than playing a video game and losing? I mean, it's fake. It's fake when you're going in, unless they do some weird mind implant on you.
That's an
so there's no
point.
Test of character. This is just a fucking video game.
Unless you realize
that you're programmed to lose. Every choice she made lost. So it's not like it's really testing even how you think. You fire, no effect. They shoot us, our things go down.
You have thought about this a lot. Actually, I have not thought about that fact, but you're right, because you remember in the TNG episode.
I love this. They designed the simulator so that there's a spotlight right behind the big door
10K.
So that he can make an entrance.
So he can look like God, of course.
Well, that's not the big door. That's a view screen.
Oh, that's right.
Right. Yeah. Why is there a door there? Why don't they use the doors that are actually built into the back of the bridge?
But you're absolutely right, Mike. I mean, she does know it's a test, but you remember in the TNG episode, what's it called, Coming of Age, when Wesley takes the stress test. He didn't know that it was a test at the time. He knew there was a test coming, but when he was in that situation, he thought it was real. So that was a real test.
Yeah, this is not. If Kirk took this, that means every cadet going in here knows that they're going to lose. So what's the point of even taking the test?
Yeah, so they're already going in with a kind of defeatist attitude.
Yeah, and they're really in the movie. Actually, in the novel you talked about, they do make a better sense of the test, and then it's not this test of character bullshit. It's to see what you come up with in this situation. And she comes up with Ray's shields. They shoot. Our shields go down. Doesn't really try anything very different. Where everybody in the story, it was how do you handle this situation that you're going to lose, which is a little bit different than this how you face death sort of thing that's going on here. And here that ties into the themes of the movie, but it doesn't really make any sense as far as the test goes. Although they'll keep bringing up this no-win scenario throughout the movie.
Is it in this continuity? We have the new Star Trek. We have J.J. Abrams' Star Trek. In that continuity, Spock wrote the Kobayashi Maru. Is that the same in this case?
They never indicate that, and it certainly didn't. I don't think they said that anywhere in the novel.
Okay.
I am understandably curious.
I always got the impression that Spock was in Starfleet much longer than Kirk.
Well, he is much older. We know that, and I always assumed that he was.
And
I don't think he is. I think I think they actually are much closer in age.
Well, at this time with the official timelines that we have now, they are. But back when this movie came out, the unofficial, canon was that he'd been in Starfleet for like 27 years before he got on the Enterprise. Not 27, but at least since the beginning, which would be with all of Captain Pike and all of Robert April.
Then Captain Pike.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that. So back when this movie came out, again, there's no real official canon at this point. This is just all the stuff that's been going on. But that was basically a lot of other stories had kind of implied that he was quite a bit older than Kirk, which would make sense.
Yeah, because Vulcans age differently.
And it's not. I mean, Kirk was supposedly a particularly young captain because he did something incredibly brave and daring when he was a lieutenant. You know, it was one of those sort of things, and he was just he was a superstar, which is interesting because now this movie is about him feeling old, which strangely for me feels a little out of character. Even I mean,
everyone
this
ages.
is the guy that in the last movie, moved heaven and earth to get his fucking ship back, and now he's, you take it, Spock, you take it.
I will. And now that you've brought up the last movie, I'm going to nitpick and say that's probably why everybody thinks Star Trek 2 is the greatest of the Star Trek films, because Star Trek 1 falls below people's expectations of what they wanted from a Star Trek movie. Even though it's actually a pretty decent science fiction movie, it's actually a pretty heady movie, a little too heady, some would say. This is an action film. This is a summer action film that you can sit down and watch, and it's fun.
Well, can I call you on that? I mean,
what?
This movie, I think, is remembered for its action, but there's a whole lot of talking in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
There's a ton of talking, but this has action.
This was
no
the first
action.
time you see Starfleet ships shooting the shit out of each other.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Not just like blasts and they freeze. You see them ripping holes in the side of the ship.
Well, I mean,
there is action in this movie. There is no action in the motion picture.
No.
There is
That's why
not
they call
a
it the
second
motion
of
picture. But I would like to kind of point out the fabulous future fashions that Leonard is sporting here.
Oh, he looks so money. He looks like $1 million in that thing. You don't agree?
No, I don't recall in the series Kirk having an interest in antiques. So again, this is something new added here.
Well, some time has gone by since the series, so he could have developed new taste.
And I've always been a little confused as to what the timeline on this was supposed to be.
The Nitpicker's Guide had some problems with that too. They mentioned that because of star dates that are present during the Genesis log, that maybe this movie took place a few years after the first one, but how many years after the first one took place after Space Seed? But apparently it wasn't. It's supposed to be 15 years because he mentions 15 years,
right?
But it doesn't actually add up to that much time. They fudged that a little bit.
Yeah, I remember because if the Space Seed was a year one, so it would be 5 years from Space Seed plus 3 years to Star Trek: The Motion Picture, and then he goes. I mean, it seems like he's now in command of the ship, and so there would be another long mission.
And this is the first time we see another Federation ship in the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't see any others in the first one, did we?
No, I don't think so.
Well, we saw some
you saw like a
shuttlecraft.
space station.
Yeah, right.
You didn't see like a real ship.
No.
But and I love the Reliant, and but here comes my next problem. What is the Reliant doing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What is it? Well, I mean, I was going to nitpick this.
It's searching for a lifeless planet.
Right. And isn't Regula what becomes Genesis in the end?
Well, yeah, and actually
isn't that
Regula,
lifeless?
No, I don't think so.
It's the plasma, the nebula is what becomes.
It's kind of unclear, but
I think it is unclear. They don't make it clear.
It's the nebula.
Because I've assumed for a while it was. I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off, Mike. Go ahead.
Well, this way, it's not hard to find planets that don't have life. There's more of them than anything else. You don't need a starship. They should have a database. We have a database of planets that are rock. They're parked next to Regula. There's 6 lifeless planets in this solar system. They're not hard to find. You don't need to send a ship to do it.
Well, they're
one
all
that coincidentally
planets.
has Chekhov.
Yeah.
And shouldn't they have already been to the SETI system?
You would think, yeah. And there we have the famous prop of the lights here. I love that prop.
I love the TV.
Oh, yeah, it's so circa 1980.
Round thing.
Oh, I wish we had TVs like this now, like with round screens. Even though it'd probably be impractical to watch something like that, it still looks cool.
Well,
I love the
hilarious.
pre-animate matter caught in a matrix. I mean, there's some great Star Trek bullshit science. What the fuck does
Technobabble.
that mean? Pre-animate matter. That means inanimate.
Now, does David know that Kirk is his father?
No, clearly not.
Not clearly, because I asked the question, because he's a real dick to him, but it could be from that you're my dad and you were never around.
No, I'm pretty sure somewhere in there they do mention it. He doesn't know.
That's right, because he does take a shot at him.
Yeah, he says it right here. Something about he was never a Boy Scout, so he knows about Kirk.
Used to hang around with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's right there. Jim Kirk was many things, but he was never a Boy Scout.
So why doesn't he know?
yeah. At this point, he's
an adult. Shouldn't she have told him?
Yeah, at this
She's a
point,
bad mother.
Well, he does know. He's just never met him, right?
No, because Kirk was told not to come around.
Well, he can still know that he's his father. He just doesn't, talk with him. That's all.
But just that reference of that overgrown Boy Scout used to hang around with. You mean your dad?
Right.
It's such a strange way to refer to it. Even a daddy doesn't know.
Yeah.
And there's another point in the movie where it really either if it doesn't flat out say it, it certainly implies it. Okay, another problem here.
Mm-hmm.
So we get to the planet. Okay, that's fine. We can't. There's something down there. We can't tell what it is. So let's send down the captain and the first officer alone.
And the censor should have been able to. The censor should have been able to pick that up. But then again, there's that huge nitpick. Why don't they even know what planet this is? I mean, how if City Alpha 6 exploded, they would have been able to tell that City Alpha 5's orbit shifted, and there would have been in the database that we mentioned. It would have been in there.
But and even now, just look at the story that Khan tells. And again, it just right now, hey, there's just a cargo carrier, some sort of ship. Yeah, maybe we should call some security guards.
Yeah.
Maybe we should. I mean, I know that's a classic Star Trek nitpick. The captain should not be going. But here it is. The top two people on the ship go alone onto the planet with just like their spacesuits.
Yeah.
Why is there not a science officer looking for this?
Yeah,
or a
spotlight
medical
character.
officer?
Something like that. You're right. Or Mr. Beach from the bridge. Something.
Because it makes absolutely no sense.
Well, this, as I said, this is your baby. You really wanted to do this. And I haven't done a commentary from this angle before. So I was really trying to get into the spirit. I took some notes and really tried to find things that, were nitpickery. And it was tough, because I never really analyzed this film like that. But thinking about this scene here, when these containers, did they come from the Enterprise? When they say Enterprise on them somewhere?
No, they're Botany Bay.
Oh, they're actually from the Botany Bay.
At the end of Space Seed, though, did they just put them back in the Botany Bay?
Well,
yeah, they just put them on the Botany Bay and send them off.
Well, I thought, doesn't Chekhov grabs like a belt or something at the end of this scene, and that says Botany Bay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I thought maybe the actual cargo containers came from the Enterprise.
But some of the stuff, because the Enterprise gave them supplies.
Yeah,
they gave them supplies.
So they had to have...
There should be Enterprise markings somewhere, you would think.
Yeah, And of course, Moby Dick is one of the books that survives. What a coincidence!
Paradise Lost, yeah, Moby Dick.
Now, where did the Botany Bay come from?
It came from Earth.
But where on Earth?
It was
because this was pre-Federation Earth.
Well, it was like 1996 or something when it launched.
Yeah. The Middle East.
So why is it written in English?
That's a very good.
That's a good question. I don't know.
In the 90s,
because we can't read. Because we can't read Arabic.
Yeah.
Well,
Farsi.
Khan is really lucky that they got back now. 5 seconds later, he would have missed his shot.
Yeah, he would have run into the Fremen out there.
The Fremen, nice.
Okay, now this, our captain and our first officer are not responding. What should we do?
Why don't call Starfleet?
They're not responding. Okay, we'll give them a little more time, is what he says. It's like, what do you mean? We're thinking about leaving? We can't find a captain. Let's go. What the fuck is that?
Yeah, I guess you're right there.
This is when you go beam down all the security officers with lots of phasers.
Oh, yeah, they're treating it like, well, this kind of happens all the time, doesn't it? Yeah, we can get another one.
There's a reason that you're supposed to have red shirts on the ship.
But you know what?
This is a great reveal, though.
It's not a reveal. The name of the movie is Wrath of Khan. I'm sorry. And then, that nice little nitpick that Chekhov wasn't on the show when Space Seed happened. So what the fuck is this?
Well, I
never forget a phrase.
I always thought that my reasoning was that Chekhov was aboard. He just wasn't on the bridge yet. He wasn't a bridge officer, but he was still there.
No, Chekhov was similar to the way he's portrayed in the new movie. He's really young. He's not really a whiz kid, but he's definitely. By the time he's on the show, it's because he just got out of Starfleet and he earned his spot. He's a college kid. He's a few years older than.
I have one other question. How old are the people behind him?
Yeah,
Khan's people.
Not old enough.
They're not old enough to be his followers and too old to be the children.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
unless they're hyper aged.
Unless there were children on the Botany Bay.
I don't believe there were, though.
I don't believe there were either, but
I mean, that would explain it. But my recollection from Space Heat, which I kind of wanted to watch beforehand, but yeah, I think maybe they're just counting. Although, because I remember the one guy, Joaquin, was supposed to be Khan's son. So it's Khan's son and Kirk's son, all being sort of like the.
Well, that's interesting.
Foils. And I don't know if that ever came out, but that was why he was so
much
broken
younger.
up when he died.
Oh yeah. Oh, that would make more sense. I shall avenge you. Yeah, he does get pretty upset when he dies. Yeah.
So there's a whole father. I mean, here's a son who knows his father and reveres his father and loves his father, and he's kind of the opposite of David Marcus.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of interesting.
One of the things about their suits, and it's not their convenient handles, but
yes, I love that.
It's why are the suits different colors? Do captains and first officers wear different colors?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Chekhov was.
They're both command.
Yeah, they're both command, so they should be the same color.
Well, it would just. Why would any of the suits be different colors? Do you think they just all be the same color? I don't know. That's one of the
unless
things.
Unless they were different suits.
Different,
but yeah, they're stylistically the same.
Yeah, they're just different colors. Wouldn't it just be more practical to make them all the same color?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no reason I can think of. One interesting thing that I actually forgot to mention now is like their costumes.
Yeah.
Those are radical shift from the first movie.
No kidding.
Holy shit! No one likes the pastel pajamas.
Yeah, I often wonder about that. I mean, I'm probably not the only Trekkie who does. Like, how does is there a department in Starfleet that designs new uniforms? And when do they have to implement them? And when do you notice in Generations they're wearing two different styles, and it's like, did some of them not get the memo with that?
Well, even like in Next Generation, they switch between seasons 2 and 3. They go to the kind of shirt thing.
Yeah, they go to the tunic in season 3, and the reason why they do, and I'll call it the Voyager uniform, but it's not really the Voyager uniform. It's the Deep Space Nine uniform. The Deep Space Nine uniform is the casual work uniform, and the more formal uniform, but without going into the full formal, is the classic Next Generation.
And they would often wear those on Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
Until they switched over to the gray.
Until everybody switched to the gray. Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, he said on Earth 200 years ago, I was a prince.
Yeah.
Is he actually a literal prince? Was he a literal prince?
I wish I remember Spacey more.
Okay.
The eugenics wars, he ruled like a pretty large portion of the world.
Well, I wasn't sure if he meant it literally, like when someone says, "Oh, I felt like a god" or something, or I felt like a king.
They sent them off because they were too powerful. Okay. It wasn't a let's let these hyper humans go explore space. It was get the fuck off our planet or we're going to kill you. Like
look how oblivious he looks to that. I love it.
Just kind of going back to the SETI Alpha 5 and SETI Alpha 6 issue.
Yeah.
Now, so they're on SETI Alpha 5, but they thought it was SETI Alpha 6.
Right.
SETI Alpha 6 exploded, and that shifted the orbit of SETI Alpha 5.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
If SETI Alpha 6 exploded and its orbit is outside of SETI Alpha 5, it would push it inward towards SETI Alpha 4. It wouldn't suck it backwards into its own orbit.
Well, it could shift it to make it an eccentric orbit, not necessarily circular. That could explain the weird weather patterns, maybe.
But just in terms of the direction, it would have it's exploding from the wrong side. It wouldn't have pushed the orbit out unless it's pushed it. Unless it was on the other side of the sun and pushed it that way. But then that explosion, if it reached the other side of the sun, that would be pretty powerful.
And also, if this planet exploded, wouldn't it leave debris? Wouldn't there be a new asteroid belt around this star?
Oh, yeah. I mean, all of a sudden it'd be like, why is there one planet less in an asteroid belt we didn't know about?
Yeah, I know.
How about one of my favorite of your nitpicks? How is it that is the only species that survives this shift? Like everything else, and these few humans.
And it's convenient that the only surviving
life form
creature has little tiny babies that make people do what you want.
Yeah, like
How lucky for Khan.
that is a super convenience because
Yeah.
without this, the whole rest of the movie falls apart.
Well, yeah, I mean that he needs to mind control them, so let's stick a worm in them.
Right, like seriously, without this part, they don't get on to the Reliant. None of the rest of the movie happens. Generally speaking,
They don't find out about Genesis.
find about Genesis. They don't find about anything. They kill these two on this planet, and it pretty much ends here, or holds them hostage here. But that's about it.
Yeah, they need a quick way to mind control them.
Yep.
It's so it's so cruel the way they do this too. They could just put it in their ear, but no, we're gonna make
I
it
know.
cruel.
Why did they stick the fucking helmet on?
Well, they wanted to be cruel. It's just he's vicious.
Now, also, so it goes into your ear, and then wraps itself around your cerebral cortex. It's not a hole that just goes right to your brain. That thing has to eat through eardrum and flesh and and nerves and all kinds of other crap
Yeah.
to get into your cerebral cortex. And is squeezing the cerebral cortex, does that make people particularly susceptible to suggestion, or does it make them dead?
It probably secretes something. Actually, where it should have gone, even though it was one of those
Should have gone in their
scenes,
ass.
it should have actually gone up their nose.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to get to your brain through your nose.
Now, once again, why didn't they beam up to the ship? Now, in Star Trek The Motion Picture, it's because the transporter's not working.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason they don't beam up is because, we had all this lovely footage
Let's reuse
that
it.
we're reusing from the first movie where we actually had money for special effects.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
And we can do the nice little caress, look along the ship again.
Let me tell you how I justify that, though. I justify that in that it's kind of like a tradition for the captain to board the ship this way when it's in dry dock. That's the way I kind of see it.
Could be.
Or you're just making an excuse.
Or the fact that's what the footage that was already 3 years old was showing.
Well, and they make a mistake here because they actually said they're docking next to the torpedo bay, but as they're using footage from the first movie, they're not docking towards the torpedo bay.
Yeah, not even close. That's the side of the ship.
Yeah, they're way off. They should be much higher.
You know what? I just noticed that's where Kirk gets shot out of on the Enterprise in the new movie.
Oh, really?
Because
look right here's the torpedo tube right there.
Yeah. Did you notice it says Torp Bay? It's abbreviated. That's weird. Why didn't they print the word smaller? They got to fit the whole thing on there. And these uniforms you mentioned, though, I mean, these probably are the, I think most beloved of the uniforms.
But they are a little strange for military uniforms.
But they are.
Turtleneck.
They're nautical. They're nautical.
Over.
You know what I mean? They look like the Navy. I mean, this movie is kind of like the Navy in space. And what I've always wondered is they're kind of flaps that open on the front.
Hey, Scotty's nephew is on this ship.
Well, not in this version. He's not. That's just a guy.
Well, but I think he still is, because otherwise, why would Scotty be so freaked out that he died?
Well,
why would he bring him all the way up to the bridge?
Instead of the sick bay, where you take a person who's dying.
I mean,
we'll get to that later.
Died.
Yeah, well, we got a while till we get there, but
okay. And now here, this is also something very strange. So Savick comes over to him, right? And she does this whole he's very human thing. Why would she be surprised that someone that she's already met is very, very human?
That's a very good point. I have no idea.
Just so Spock can make the nobody's perfect crack. And that's it. It's just a cheap gag.
Yep.
It doesn't make any sense. It's just so Spock can take a shot at it.
And I think because Nick Meyer mentions he likes it having subtitles on screen, so he wanted them to be speaking in Vulcan. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but wouldn't the universal translators translate all of that?
Yeah, that's one of my Star Trek nitpicks of all time. Why do Klingons speak in Klingonese? I know they're not in this movie, but it makes no sense.
Oh yeah.
You mean why don't they speak Klingonese like in Star Trek 3?
No, like when they are speaking Klingonese in anywhere past Star Trek 3, they speak Klingonese and not English. Why doesn't the universal translator in the 24th century translate Klingon?
Now at this time they don't have the built-in universal translators.
Right.
Well,
I'm fine with that.
Okay, so in continuity they didn't have that yet. Okay.
Well, they had the handheld one in the original series, so I don't know if they've
Upgraded them.
If they've mentioned them since.
Yeah, because the universal translator.
Because in Star Trek 3,
They were speaking English.
Well, that was
No,
like
but they were like Kirk had to speak Klingon into that thing.
Yeah.
So he knew. So there was a difference between the Klingon and the thing. But by 6, they mentioned the Universal Translator again.
And by Next Generation era, the Universal Translator is in the communication badge.
Okay. Another issue.
And in Deep Space Nine, it was in their ears, wasn't it?
No.
Well, don't you remember the episode Little Green Man? They adjusted it in their ear.
They did.
Okay, why is Kirk freaked out about this?
About what?
About what?
About Savick
Take her out, Mr. Savage.
taking her out.
Because he feels he might bump the ship like in Galaxy Quest? Is that what you mean?
Well, but she's just taking the captain's chair. Sulu's the one who's actually driving. All she does is say, ahead, 1/4 impulse power, blah, blah, blah. 2 lines that I could even say. All she has to do is just don't say, turn right to starboard immediately. It's not really like it's very hard. Why is he freaking out? And if she says, turn right immediately, Sulu will go, are you sure about that?
Right. Sulu is seconds away from being a captain. Like,
And he says, have you ever piloted a starship out of space dock? And it's like, she's not piloting. Sulu's piloting. She's just saying, go. She's basically Miss Daisy.
well, in submariner terms and submarine terms, that's actually piloting. Is telling
Regardless,
the people
if it-
what to do. Yeah. Oh no.
I
know.
don't think. I mean, why would Kirk be nervous about it? Then McCoy offers him a tranquilizer awful quick there.
Oh, that's
No.
because McCoy's been getting that motherfucker high for years.
Instead of saying, "Hey Jim, just mellow out. Your people know their job," he's like, "Oh, you need a little something for that."
Well, this is also a rookie crew, right? Because you've got a few instructors on here, but
Yeah, actually, why are they putting a crew full of cadets on a Constitution class battleship?
Well, this
why
ship
don't they
is-
actually have a crew?
It's a training ship now. That's what the ship has become at this point, right?
yeah, but,
I mean, but that's just sort of, when did they do that? I mean, that was certainly not the way they had kind of done things before or since. You don't. It's usually people when they come out of the academy will go serve on a pre-existing ship that has an experienced crew and captain and all of that, and that's how you do that. Where does this? We have a very, very powerful, although old, but not necessarily that old because it just got fitted a few years ago.
it is very powerful.
So why it makes no sense to do that other than to just make sure we have a crew of newbies on this ship for this storyline.
You know what's even funnier?
Makes sense from a logical standpoint.
Deep Space Nine redoes it.
Yeah.
Red Squad, Red
But
Squad.
those were like the best. Okay, here's another problem I have here.
Yeah.
Regular One space station.
Yeah.
Right? The home of the Genesis device. One of the most powerful things in the universe.
Yeah.
Why does it not have a fleet of ships protecting it from what's going to happen to it right now?
Yeah.
Well,
That would be like when they're building the atomic bomb.
Well, I wouldn't. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And yeah.
We're not going to have any guards around.
No guards around the
Even
Manhattan
if you're
Project.
hiding it from the scientists because they don't want someone to come take it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well we will just sit on the other side of the planet where your sensors won't work
Well, I think
and
that's,
make sure nobody comes and steals.
Well,
all
you're
the stuff you've got.
I know that they did mention in a very exposition-y kind of piece, that this device could be perverted. That's what that's what
Right, but
Buttrick
if
says.
you-
But
if
think
you
about
look
it. The
though-
Manhattan Project was an actual weapon developed to bomb the Japanese to nuke them. This is a device for good, for peace. It's not meant to
But
be that.
as soon as McCoy sees the recording, he goes, "Oh my God, this is a weapon."
Right.
As soon as the Klingon in the next movie sees this, he says, "Oh my God, this is a weapon." Khan apparently figures it out too. So when they pitch this to Starfleet doesn't get that.
Right.
That if anybody finds out about this, they will come and take it and make it a weapon, even if you're not planning to. You're not going to let someone develop a weapon like that without
Right.
giving them some sort of
Ooh,
protection.
Well,
you notice he
think-
said military there. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And would you consider the Federation military or exploratory?
They're military.
Who
Starfleet.
says they're a difference?
Some some people get upset about that.
Our
if you
military explores a lot of other countries.
some people get upset about that. Like, what are they? Are they a military, organization, or are they more explorers? In Next Gen, I'd say they're explorers. Here, I mean, the Enterprise is called a battle cruiser. So yeah, I would say it's more military.
And
But,
to nitpick,
but then look how quickly in Deep Space Nine that humanitarian organization turns into a military organization and goes and kills people.
Which part of DS9 are you talking
all
about?
of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I thought you were referring to that one episode on Ryza. Okay.
But to nitpick your to more to prove your point about the Genesis, Iran wants nuclear power. They want it. They say they want it to power things, but it can be perverted and used in horrible ways. So we say no, you can't have that shit. There are things put in place for it. They aren't trying to build a weapon that we know. We think they are, but we don't know it for sure. But the fact that you can build a weapon out of it means you have to protect yourself from other people getting that thing, that technology.
Well, I thought that maybe
again,
the Federation. Go ahead. There's something you want to say.
It's the main reason is because if that happened, then the movie would end when Khan, gets blown up by 10, 10 Constitution class battle cruisers.
It doesn't even need to be that big, that many. It just needs to be more than a science vessel.
Well, I think that the Federation. I mean, they hadn't even bought Genesis yet. I mean, they were still developing it, and because Carol Marcus makes that videotape for them, a proposal, because they haven't bought it yet, so they're not taking them seriously. They're just scientists out on the fringe. That's what I thought.
Maybe.
And was he coming on? Was he coming on? Was he coming on into Savick in the turbo lift here?
As a physician,
I think even if he wasn't, he would be.
Okay, because it seemed like he was.
Right.
There was some sexual tension in that frame, I think.
Well, then, all of a sudden, it is kind of like, ooh, the Vulcan's a hottie now. What's up with that?
Right.
Did you change your hair?
Well, it's not the Vulcan's a hottie. The Vulcan was always a hottie, but it was a dude Vulcan, so none of the guys noticed that Vulcans are hot. Then they got a hot Vulcan chick, and everybody's like, holy shit, Vulcans are hot.
And what was she wearing? Was she exercising? Is that why she was wearing that garb?
Casual uniform.
Well, very casual.
Casual.
It's good that in the 23rd century we revert back to CRT tube on.
Yes.
And did you notice the very monochromatic computer back in his cabin? If you notice that in the background when he's talking with McCoy. Oh yeah, it's very Apple II kind of looking. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that's actually one of my big problems with quite a few of the Star Trek movies, is the fact that they were thinking really far into the future, but they missed things that are huge today. Like the cell phone revolutionized the world, but I guess their world didn't have Star Trek, so it doesn't work. And the internet, good Lord, the internet. When you just think about the fact that the internet exists, it blows apart lots and lots and lots of Star Trek.
What I think is funny is, David even says, scientists have always been pawns of the military. And it's like, well, yes, that's how we got weapons.
Right.
That's the whole way. Is this new to you? I thought you were a smart kid.
And did you notice how that one of the scientists there back on Regula had no sleeves, and all the other ones did? Did you notice that? Like he had huge guns. Did you notice?
Yeah.
It's like, why is he sleeveless?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's odd.
He's just casual.
Very casual.
Okay, now we're coming to one of the great Star Trek problems with the Enterprise being the only ship in the quadrant. First of all, at this point they didn't really know quadrants and sectors, because if it's the only ship in the quadrant, it's the only ship in the Federation.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
But even switch it for sector. Now, how long do you think it is right now at the most from when they left the space dock?
I don't know, half hour? No, let's go a day.
Yeah, half a day. Yeah, something like that.
It doesn't even, well, I mean, it's hard to tell, but certainly with the speed of things going on Regular and Reliant, things are moving pretty quickly.
Right.
But so even a day, they're traveling at 1/4 impulse power.
Right.
Oh, there's another gaffe. I'll mention that. Sorry, keep going.
1/4 impulse power for a day is 1 day at 1/4 the speed of light. They're not really that far from Earth.
Wait, impulse power isn't the speed of light. Warp 1 is the speed of light.
No,
right?
full
so
impulse
just
is the speed of light. Full impulse is the speed of light.
It's just sub speed of light, I thought.
Yeah.
The speed of light would be warp 1.
Right.
So 1/4 impulse
Warp 1
power.
is beyond the speed of light. So, what is it?
Either way, it's not that fast.
No, it's not.
So a ship traveling at like warp 5 for 2 seconds would overtake the Enterprise
Right.
at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So they're the closest thing there, although a ship from Earth can get to where they are in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Again, why are you what and of course it's Regular One where they have that wonderful little thing that could be turned into a weapon. Let's just send the crew full of cadets and the old man on the Vulcan.
Well,
instead of sending everybody else.
and about the 1/4 impulse power, I mean, isn't that a gaffe? Because as you recall in Star Trek 6, thrusters are only allowed in space dock, not,
Yes.
Yeah, and he calls for 1/4 impulse power, and Valeris says, "Oh, that's not allowed." But here, everybody seems fine with it. And Savick, being such a stickler, would have said, "Hey, we can only use thrusters, dude."
Right.
But she doesn't.
We'll be going.
I don't know. I thought that was a mistake.
And again, this kind of like, sorry, kids, we're going into battle
Right.
with a man who has nothing against you but passionately hates me because
To be
he
fair,
fucked
they
one
don't-
of my women back.
They don't know yet. Yeah.
They don't. He doesn't know that they're going up against Khan.
Oh, I know, but they're still fucked.
I'd like to think
Oh,
that I'm looking at Kirstie Alley here.
There's so much for the little training crews.
Yeah.
Looking at Kirstie Alley, I mean, I have to believe that Nick Meyer would have said, you're part Romulan. You got some emotion. She showed some expressions in her face that Vulcans
Yeah.
never do. There had to have been something going on
Doesn't
set.
she cry at the end?
She does, yeah.
I love the mix of, rugged barbarian and Starfleet.
Yeah, they put the jackets over there, kind of biker, space biker outfits. I love that.
We are
And
free.
where did they leave them? By the way,
City Alpha 5.
they left the crew on City Alpha 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many of them are dead now? Because there are only 30 of them, right?
Well, according to the Nitpicker's guide, there's probably about 50 of Khan's
Still.
gang.
50 of Khan's gang. How many people fit on the Reliant? Because it's a fully functional starship.
Well, it's got to be
Well,
at least a
it's-
couple hundred, right?
Well, yeah, it's half the size of the Enterprise because it's a saucer section.
All right, so half the size of the
So
Enterprise.
at
So
least
that's-
250 people.
where are those people going to be sheltered?
Outside. I mean, they all couldn't fit. They could take turns, Obviously, it's not big enough. I mean, Khan isn't a nice guy.
Unless they're all just really packed in there.
They can pack
They-
it really tight.
We
Yeah.
get 80 people in here if we don't breathe.
I mean, why didn't Kate Winslet share the life raft with Leo at the end of the Titanic?
Yeah,
she
I just
could've.
saw that picture. It was amazing. George Takei posted that. Look at that. There's plenty of room.
Oh, they could take turns. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But, one of the things about the bridge and just about all the 23rd, 24th century technology, looking at them, none of these buttons are labeled. You ever notice that? I mean, they're all just lights, and they're all just like, how do they know what they do? I mean, do they have to memorize all these control panels?
Wow, that would suck.
It seems
Well-
like they do.
In that's why Akuda gave everything names.
Don't they have numbers too on Next Gen? Little numbers in the corner?
They aren't numbers. They're the cast names. Like what is it? What is Riker's real name? Jonathan Frakes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there are buttons on the bridge that would be it's the first 2 letters of his first name and the first 3 letters of his last name. So it would be Joe FRA. I think that's what it is, or is it's a numeric thing, and they're just all over the place. Yeah, it's definitely the first 2 letters of your first name, and then the I think it's the first 3 letters of your last name.
You're
did
right.
The retina scan.
Yeah, you're right. They wouldn't, if it wasn't that big a deal, they wouldn't have this so protected by a retina scan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is like CIA type stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, they would be taking it more seriously. They probably have better protection for Regula. I'd agree. Good point.
They should have better protection.
Did anybody notice like those little filing cabinets on the back, behind Leonard Nimoy? Don't they look like warp nacelles to you?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad I'm not.
It looks
the
like
only
they
one.
pull a mold off of an old model.
I've always.
I
thought
remember actually, if you go back, I think it's to.
that. Wait a minute. We're going into Tron. Okay.
Oh yeah.
We're going to the computer world.
Doesn't
Although
this
this
come
was-
out before Tron?
This
Yeah.
is probably around the same time, but if you look closely, you can see the MCP in there.
Well, because it's 1982.
And Tron was 80.
92.
Yeah, so probably the
Yeah,
same
I think-
people who
I
did
think
this
this
did
did
Tron.
first.
Yeah.
This was actually and still holds up as halfway decent computer graphics now.
Oh,
Still
yeah.
looks pretty dang good. I mean,
And again,
I
So
remember
at
hearing
what
the
point
audience.
do you not get that this is a weapon?
Yeah,
Right.
looking at
You
this.
just
Yeah.
ignited an entire planet's surface.
Yeah, it's all
And
part
even
of the show.
McCoy was
folks.
like, well, what happens if you use this where there are already people?
Right.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, people just went, jackpot. This
I-
is how we control the universe.
You know, I love the book series that actually comes out of this, and not love, but I love the Genesis Wave stuff. It's so much fun because they say that when Genesis blows up, there's a wave that goes off and just keeps shifting and changing planets and fucking people up.
Nice.
Yeah.
And again, going to this, just look at this example. Whatever they used was just a big, hunk of rock. There's a lot of those.
Yeah.
They're all over the place.
Yeah, there's plenty of. I mean,
and
our
they've-
moon is a big hunk of rock.
Yeah, and they, again, like I said, in this solar system alone. But if they, understandably, I mean, we can nitpick that. Why not do this a little closer to home? Well, maybe they're afraid if something went wrong, they'd fuck something up close by.
You're
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you're right.
but-
I mean, but they did
But
do
there's
that.
still, it's not hard. They and Star Trek alone, they have visited hundreds of these planets.
I
You don't
can-
need to go look for one. You
I
can
can.
find it easy.
I mean, yeah, you're right. Why would they? But I mean, I think about the Manhattan Project in Los Alamos. I mean, they weren't sure exactly what was going to happen when they set off that first nuke. They
Oh,
weren't
yeah.
sure if that chain reaction was going to go on forever and blow up the whole planet. So they picked a place that was very isolated because they weren't
Yeah.
sure. So
Especially if
the same
someone's
goes for
going to
here.
use unstable proto matter in the next movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah, but
used-
even here, like the discussion, McCoy's like, universal Armageddon.
Yeah.
He knows what's up.
and they're using biblical terms here: Genesis, Armageddon, obviously intentionally. Earth was created in 6 days. Yeah,
Interesting that McCoy says according to
myth, which probably offended a lot of people. You think?
Yeah.
Actually,
Well,
no.
I mean, that was the agnostic Star Trek future.
Well, I mean, it is a form of mythology, no matter how you.
Well, I
wanna
mean, he
paint
is correct.
Yeah, I don't think it offended as many people back then as it would today.
Oh, yeah.
Because back then, half the people out there didn't know he said that.
A vessel
Now,
closing fast.
what?
Hmm.
Oh yeah,
it. Why wouldn't half the people know he didn't say that?
because they didn't go and see the movie and nobody told them
Yeah.
about it.
Oh, okay.
Like now,
They didn't have the internet to rile everybody up.
they didn't have the internet and 24-hour news cycle to rile people up.
That's true. I always thought that maybe now it would offend people more now because
Oh,
we've
hell yeah.
learned
Oh,
much
yeah.
more about science and
It
the
would be on
universe and
Fox
whatnot.
News as the Star Trek hates God.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
like that's one of the world we live in.
Hell, they decided Batman was gay.
Yeah, that. Oh, did they actually name which character is actually gay?
No, but odds are it's Alan Scott.
His weakness is wood. Why don't they think these things through?
Anyway,
Yeah.
General Order 12 on the approach of any vessel.
One of the things that came up in the Nitpicker's Guide was Kirk's bad handling of the situation and why he's never reprimanded for not following procedure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything happens because he doesn't follow orders. That makes him a very, very bad captain.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a bad call. Bad call, Ripley. It's a bad call.
And then, like, they call him on. He's like, you go on quoting orders. Yes, if you fucking listen to me, we wouldn't have a lot of dead people.
Yeah. I mean, the regulations
And
are there
also,
for a reason.
just it doesn't make any sense why he wouldn't. It's like,
Yeah.
well, just raise shields.
Yeah. Raising
nothing-
there's nothing wrong with raising shields. Hell, the Enterprise D does it hundreds of times after that.
You ever
It's
wa-
yellow alert.
Yeah,
Now, I love how Khan is so well learned. He knows Klingon proverbs.
Yeah, he shouldn't know that. Yeah. Shouldn't know Klingon proverbs. I mean, I guess he could have had time to study up.
He did have a lot of time to study.
Well, I mean, did he have those kind of books back on, City Alpha 5?
I would
On the
assume-
Enterprise, he went through the ship's records, and when he
Yeah.
was.
That's
but,
true.
But yeah, was he studying Klingon proverbs or how to take over the ship?
I would actually, even then, they sent them off with supplies. I would have to figure that they would give them a history of the world they live in now.
Okay,
Mhm.
they say that their coil emissions are blah blah blah, and
Normal.
Spock says nope, they're lying, and they still haven't raised.
Yeah,
their
I know.
shield.
What's up with
Right.
that? Yeah. I would think that it'd be wiser for Khan, especially for Khan, to study up on Klingon proverbs because it gives him so many good opportunities for excellent one-liners. So
Yeah, they're locking phasers, raise shields. What the fuck?
yeah, now
The
raise.
first thing
Now,
you do.
yeah, now
Oops.
raise the shields. Yeah,
And now we have a big hole in the side of our ship.
and he's
Right,
responsible for
right,
many
the
people
engineering
dying
section.
as well and catching
All of
on
these
fire.
people died because James Kirk made a fucked up move.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's always kind
Sulu,
of...
get those shields up. The ones you should have put up 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, the Sulu should have said, no shit, Captain. Why didn't you tell me earlier?
Look at that poor guy. There's that poor guy, and I'm gonna go with that's kind of bullshit engineering. Just slowly close doors. Like there should be better things of, hey, these doors close, but I can open it to get out unless radiation gets too high.
Well, that's another kind of nautical-esque type of thing Nick Meyer was introducing. I mean, did you notice that in the Kobayashi Maru test in the beginning, she said, launch the buoy. That's something that a submarine will do
Yeah.
in the ocean. So, I always wondered about these emergency lights. Why are they always red? Doesn't that make it harder to see? You would think? It's like, turn on the lights, guys. We're in a battle here. Come on. And don't you think that if there was a captain making an egregious error, such as not raising the shields in time, that the computer would automatically raise the shields?
No, that is a next generation error kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
This computer is not.
Yeah,
Smart
there's
enough.
much less computer control over the ship at this time.
Well,
Yeah.
Scotty does the whole automation thing in the next movie.
That's in the next movie, though.
But that's not... Well, the next movie takes place 2 weeks after this. Come on. Not that much time has gone by.
Yeah, but that's also a nitpick of that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Because the automation, you really shouldn't have been able to do that.
And to kind of break out of nitpicking for a second, this was a great battle scene. I mean, this is the kind of action we're talking about.
Oh, this is good stuff. This is money.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
this is what we wanted.
Yeah. This is why people love this movie. But
See,
so
that's why.
yes, and now it's like, there's nothing to say about this. This is a great scene.
Well, it's awesome. I mean...
It's a great scene, but it doesn't exist without Kirk making horrible, egregious mistakes.
Oh, and again, just this thing about his past coming back to haunt him. It's just the strange coincidences of the guy who's stranded on a planet that's his fault. A guy who used to be his first officer. He's on a mission with a woman who he used to have sex with, who is the mother of his son. All of these weird, completely separate Kirk things collide to make this movie happen.
Yeah.
If Sulu or if Chekhov is not the first officer, or he doesn't even go down to the planet, the movie doesn't happen because he makes no Kirk connection.
So he gets super demoted, by the way, because he's the first officer of that ship. And then he's back to being the weapons officer on the Enterprise. After
To be
that
fair,
mission.
you just betrayed us. I know it's a little worm thing in your ear, but
Right.
you betray your friends.
Is there
you
any
get stuck behind the
explanation
faces.
to, maybe in the books or some other part of the continuity, where they explain how Chekhov got aboard the Reliant?
Because he moved up in rank and he moved on.
That was just it? He was just promoted and moved on?
Yeah.
He just got a choice spot on another ship.
Okay.
Right. Why wouldn't?
And that's my assumption.
Yeah,
I don't know if it ever said that.
It's a
Certainly
nitpick
not.
because they needed somebody that we knew to go down to regular. That's
Right.
the only reason he's there.
And here's another thing.
And it's interesting. Everybody is a commander now, except Kirk and Spock, who are admiral and captain.
Wait, is Scotty?
previous-
Scotty isn't a captain of engineering.
He's promoted to captain of engineering in the next movie.
Oh, I thought he was
Okay,
already
now
a captain.
No, in the next movie they say report to your duty, your new duty as captain of engineering. I love to keep nodding.
Yeah, keep nodding.
But see, okay, now here's another nitpick. How convenient is it that you can just do this?
Yeah, with the
You can pull
prefix
up a few
code.
numbers.
Wait, no, time out. Forget convenience of doing that. How about the fact that the fucking audio channel is still open and they're talking?
Well, they do riff that in Galaxy Quest, as you recall.
Like, but they're talking.
Yeah,
How does he not hear him? Wait, they're talking right now. Turn up the volume.
because he's too busy looking badass in front of him. He's got to concentrate.
I know. It's just,
No,
yeah, I mean, just very convenient that that you're. I mean, they never said that you could do this before.
Well,
Right.
No. But there's a great callback to it in a TNG episode, The Wounded.
Yeah, and
Great.
and there it actually makes sense that it's something to make you tow another ship.
Mhm.
But it's also like, well, why didn't they use this on other occasions when they're up against Starfleet vessels in the past? Now they make he could have changed the codes, and I guess maybe if he'd spent a little less time reading Klingon proverbs and more time reading about how you control a starship, he could have fixed that.
Considering how many tech manuals we'd have to read, I can assume he may have forgotten a few things.
He's had 15 years.
Well, did they give him technical manuals? When he left. I mean,
here's the plans to all of our vessels,
just in case you ever escape.
in case you get off and you need to commandeer one.
I will. The only reason they're able to do this in my head is because of all the times previous to this that somebody took over another Federation starship and then you're fucked. So they probably were like, oh well, hey, this is in the refit. We're doing this with all our vessels. That we can take control of other vessels. Like, hey, it makes sense.
But then why don't they do more than lower the shields? Why don't they shut off the power? Why don't they do something other than we will shoot you now? Let's cut your life support. Let's shut down the ship. Just shut it off completely.
And what if this hadn't worked? What if Kirk surrendered then? What do you have done?
Yeah,
he's got no other choice.
He's got no other choice.
And now it's like, okay, where are you shooting? How about the engines?
The engines, life support.
How about the bridge where everyone who's in command is sitting?
Had they lost phaser, locking capabilities, from the damage maybe?
Locking capabilities, it's a gun. Yeah. You point it.
Well, yeah,
come on.
You would think,
supposed to be badass. It was Sulu shooting, wasn't it?
Yeah. You would think, shoot the bridge. Why not? I mean, they do finally do that in Nemesis, where he's like, "Oh, they're targeting the bridge." I'm like, finally, that's where the command is. Do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like, let's put the most important people right at the most obvious target, the center of a big circle.
Yeah.
Instead of like deep buried in the ship where you have to blow away big chunks of steel to get to them.
Titanium.
Or whatever. Go on quoting regulations. Yes.
Caught with my britches down. Well, at least he admits to it. Here we go. This is why take him here. But, I always just thought that since we didn't know who he was just so... Look, she was showing, signs of like grief right there.
Yeah.
What the hell was that?
Well, so is Spock.
Well, he just closes his eyes. He's being respectful.
Well, yeah, why did, if you would have taken it, instead of spending the time going to the bridge, you just gone to sickbay, he might have lived.
I love their space blankets.
Yeah, the shite.
You know what? That's weird. Is that that might be sickbay. Huh. And I mean Next Generation sickbay because it was big and circular.
Sure, it could have been. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, they just shuffled a few things around. I mean, the Reliant Bridge is the Enterprise Bridge, after all, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean, it is a bit odd. I guess I never thought about it. That the fact that who this kid was.
Why the fuck did he take him to the bridge?
Yeah.
He's still alive.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot that
he's still alive. If you would have taken him right to sickbay, you might have had a chance.
Right.
Yeah, his last word should have been...
So he died because Scotty did something stupid.
His last word should have been, "Uncle, why didn't you take me here first?"
Yes.
That's sad.
I always thought that, like, whoever was working continuity for this movie were like, oh, fuck, now I have to keep track of where that spot is.
Oh, it actually moves.
Oh, the blood stain on his... one of the things about
the... an actual handprint.
Well, yeah, the thing about the uniforms I would have mentioned is what purpose does that serve? It's like, is it a bib for when they eat?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just doesn't
seem
to do anything.
Why did he flip it down? Is it like, I'm too constricted with it.
Yeah.
That's enough.
It's like, when you get home from work, you loosen your tie or something like that.
Yeah, is that the equivalent for him of just like losing his shirt? But I'll show you my little turtleneck.
I love this set. It's so 80s. It's amazing.
Yeah, like it rivals Flash Gordon.
It looks something like that crossed with like the black hole.
Yeah. Flash. Ah.
Now the regular one was just a model from the first movie flipped upside down.
Well, there is no up or down in space.
Ah, that's true. we don't know that.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Our primitive 20s.
It's because we're using two-dimensional thinking. That's why.
Yeah, which doesn't make any sense.
Wait till we get. Yeah, we'll get to that when that comes up. I think.
Yeah.
And again, here, big giant rock in space.
See, I always thought I wasn't sure where the Genesis planet came from until I rewatched this again, and I think maybe it did become Regula because they were close to Regula when the Genesis wave went off. But you said no, it's the Nebula, so I never was quite sure.
It's unclear. They don't actually explicitly say anything in the movie about it, but how far are they? Is the Nebula from Regula? Because they seem to be pretty deep in the heart of the nebula when all of this stuff goes down. And the Genesis planet really kind of forms right around the ship, it seems. I mean, it seems like it's at the heart of... Well, I guess, when we get to that, we can really see. But, what happens to the nebula that's around them, too? It just sort of vanishes.
Well, if it was the nebula, then why weren't they searching for nebulas? I mean, there wouldn't be any life in there. Wouldn't it be easier to use?
Because also, is there a star around here? All of a sudden, there's a star at the center of this nebula.
Well, it's center of the nebula.
Well, look, there's a star right there. I mean, where's that light coming from? There's got to be a sun behind it somewhere.
My favorite is, what the fuck is the light source inside the planet?
In the Genesis cave? Yeah.
In the Genesis cave. We're not there yet. I was going to mention it.
Now, why all of a sudden do they have these funky jackets?
Damn it, you took that. I was going to say that. Yeah, why do they change clothes? Yeah, I don't know. Other than the fact that it looks cool. I don't know.
And I just want to know, why did the tricorders get huge between this movie and the last movie? They're tiny.
Look at the phasers. One of the things the Nitpicker's guide mentioned is the fact that if you notice when they beam in that McCoy's phaser is blinking and theirs aren't. They're steady. So obviously their settings are different, but they both said when they beamed aboard, phaser's on stun. So obviously they're not all at the same setting.
Yeah, well, McCoy's like, fuck that. I'm putting mine on kill.
I don't care what my goddamn senile captain says.
Fight. You're a Vulcan and a rock star. I'm a country doctor. I'm putting someone down.
Oh, that's a good trailer shot. And we're going to see a rat here in a moment. How do you think it got there? From the Genesis cave? Did it crawl up from the Genesis cave? Were they experimenting on it?
It can't crawl up from the Genesis cave.
Okay.
It can't walk into the transporter beam
either.
Yeah,
that's right. The Genesis cave is on
the planet. Yeah, it'd have to crawl through
that just shows you how powerful rats are. Is they have made it all the way across the universe into a space station on the other side of God knows where, and they snuck in on a crate somehow.
Did you guys ever think this was too graphic for Star Trek? Bodies hanging upside down?
Not me.
Nah, me neither.
It's bodies hanging upside down.
Yeah, it's a bit horrific,
It's slightly horrific, but how many times do they disintegrate somebody by shooting them?
Yeah.
That's way
But I mean, for me, I think it's a matter of when you move up to a movie, you have an expectation that you're going to get a little bit more intensity than a TV show. For me, at least. I mean, I just think that's kind of one of the freedoms of a movie that you have is, well, we can show a little more killing.
Yeah, and one of the things about the movie and expectations, I think this movie is great, but I think a lot of people, like I said at the top, forget how much dialogue is in this movie and how little action there really is. I mean, the pace isn't really that fast. It's a pretty leisurely pace, and most people think of space battles. I'm like, there's like 10, 15 minutes of space battle, and that's about it.
But that's because they're comparing it to Star Trek 1.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That's all it is. It's Star Trek 1.
It's like comparing a hot rod to a go-kart, I guess. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
No, it's like comparing a toy car to...
I'll be right back.
Okay.
No, Mike's going to be right back.
Well, about the motion picture, I always thought that it was... I mean, when I was growing up, I don't know how you felt, Damon, but I always thought it was, it's the boring one, it's a slow one, but it's not something I appreciated until I got older, It is a good movie.
Yeah, it is a good movie for what it is. Once you understand what it is, that's the problem with Star Trek movies for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, if you cut like a half an hour out of that movie, it'd be much better. It's a lot of fluff.
Yeah.
And did they ever think about why Terrell is so spacey, or as a captain and commander, shouldn't they be able to deal with the situation a little better?
Well, they're still effed up in their heads.
Well, they don't know that yet. I mean, they don't know they have these slugs in their ears.
Yeah. But one of my big nitpicks is coming up. One of the largest moments in cinema history makes no sense.
What? I don't know. You're gonna have to point that out. Is it in the next scene?
It's coming up soon.
Now, he says blames for the death of his wife. Is he referring to MacGyver's?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, no, but he never states the name explicitly. He just says my beloved wife. He never says MacGyver's. But you can assume that became his wife.
Yeah.
It was not my impression.
I always thought that this transporter console looked a little Klingon-esque, the red. The graphics look a little Klingon-y to me.
They're about escape time for Genesis with their lives.
This is not
about escape time for Genesis with their lives.
Well, apparently the biggest nitpick is coming up, Mike.
my biggest nitpick.
Yours. Yeah, I'm waiting for it.
It's a huge one for me.
Is it about the light in the Genesis cave?
No.
Okay.
It's not the light in it, because I already mentioned that.
Okay. Well, I thought maybe the light could have been, the light that the matte painter was using when he's painting the picture of the Genesis cave.
Nope. It is one of the largest moments in cinema history, and it makes no sense.
Okay.
Hell, I'll talk about it now. When he's shouting Khan, all that bullshit,
Yeah.
he knows that they're fine, and they will
Yeah.
be in a couple hours. So why the fuck is he putting on that big of a show for Khan? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Unless it is for Khan.
Well, I mean, he was upset because he got Genesis, right? I mean, he felt like he had snuck one past him,
I don't think so.
I like this little coded thing.
Yeah, hours would seem like days or something like that. 2 hours by the book or 2 days by the book. Yeah.
We won't leave you behind.
Now, is it because of Chekhov and Tyrell that they can monitor their transmission?
Yeah.
And that's what I was assuming.
Because they're wearing those nifty little Dick Tracy comm badges, right? On their wrists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So
BRB.
why don't they use those throughout Starfleet? I don't know. I mean, you would think they had something cool like that. I want one of those.
Now, I think it's interesting here also that this is the first time that people are moving and talking during transport, I believe.
Well, the first time in recorded Star Trek history.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because usually I think you're more frozen because it doesn't make any sense that you'd actually be talking while you're in mid-transport.
Yeah.
Or moving.
Yeah, usually we'd
But
see
yeah,
the frame freeze and then they would beam away. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're kind of frozen until you reassemble. At least that's the way it was originally. And it was mostly because that special effect is too hard to do. But here, she's moving and talking and stuff.
Okay, so it took a crew how many months to dig this out? Wouldn't they have just used phasers or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. It's like to tunnel it out, really? You
I
did
know,
it by
but
hand?
Were they using pickaxes?
Yeah, they must have been. Sheesh.
And they really didn't do a very good job.
Not really.
They used phasers
But why would it take them 6 months?
because they were late.
I mean, it wouldn't take us 6 months with just the equipment that we have.
Well, it took it did take Tim Robbins 20 years to dig through that tunnel, make a wall in the Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, but that was in the 60s.
Yeah, that's true. And all he had was a pickaxe,
He didn't have a pickaxe. He had a miniature carving
pickaxe.
stone.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really shouldn't have taken that long to carve it out.
No.
So
well,
now he realizes that's his son.
Yeah.
oops, sorry, I didn't mean to deck you there.
Whoops.
What is with the continuity or whatever? I mean, did they ever point out when Antonia came into the picture? Antonia, the girl on the horse in Generations.
No, not that I'm
She comes into the picture in Generations.
That's
Duh.
it. She must have.
Yeah.
Did he sleep with her before or after Carol Marcus?
Oh, after.
And why didn't they just say Carol Marcus? I mean, come on. Ron Moore wrote that movie. He should have known better.
Because why would you write Carol Marcus?
Because that's the love of his life.
But she'd been dead for what? 7 years or
Well,
so?
he was in the Nexus. He could bring back whoever he wanted.
No. I mean,
lucky that Savick knocked him over.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, you
he
see,
doesn't die.
Terrell's phaser is blinking just like McCoy's is. So
Yeah.
McCoy set his phaser to kill when he beamed aboard the station.
No, he didn't set it to kill. He set it to disintegrate.
Oh,
Yeah.
disintegrate. Yeah, vaporize. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a much higher setting.
and one of the
Okay,
things.
so wait. This is kind of interesting here. He says kill Admiral Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
Now he has trouble with it,
Yeah.
and then he zaps himself. So we'll get. So when Chekhov, he then kind of starts flipping out, and instead of like shooting himself or the thing killing him, he falls down and just crawls out.
Yeah.
Why doesn't that happen to Tyrell? How lucky that the person who has been on this before doesn't die horribly like the other guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Nitpicker's Guide mentions that, well, maybe there wasn't a whole lot going on inside Chekhov's mind, so it got bored and tried to find better pastures. Something like that.
Well, actually, not. Now, actually, right here, Kirk shoots the thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why? I mean, your whole thing is new life and new civilizations. You're going to kill this thing that just popped out of his ear? Actually, Gene Roddenberry had a problem with that.
Oh, that he kills this little creature?
Yeah. Why don't they just bottle it up?
Yeah,
It's not its fault. There's no malice.
I
Yeah.
thought it was in like a heat of passion, because he hurt his friend.
He shot a little bug in a heat of passion.
Yeah, it's like a mosquito. It's like, you stung my friend, you
And I
bastard.
love this.
Con, you bloodsucker. Yeah.
So he wanted Kirk to be killed, right?
Right.
And so Kirk says, "Oh, you missed. You got to come down and kill me." And he goes, all of a sudden he switched. Okay, I don't need to kill him. We'll leave him stranded, buried alive for all eternity. Isn't the Enterprise, from Khan's perspective, coming back
In a couple of days.
eventually?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he would
Wouldn't
think
they
that.
just beam? I mean, they have food, they have provisions. I'm leaving you buried alive till your ship comes back and gets you.
It's going to be a horrible 2 days down there. You guys are going to turn into those people like in Alive and start eating each other.
So yeah, even from Khan's standpoint, he knows the Enterprise. And if not, how about a ship will eventually come back when they realize that the space station with the most powerful weapon in the universe is no longer responding? Neither is the ship we sent out there to check it out.
Well, see, isn't this why
So-
he gets upset, Damon? Because he killed Jarrell, committed suicide because of Khan, and then Khan took the Genesis device. I mean, isn't that why he screams in rage?
Well, he wants Khan to kill him.
Yeah.
To come down here, and basically Khan's getting away. But yeah, he knows that he's not trapped or buried alive or anything like that. It's just kind of like, I'm going to come get you in an hour.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing is why let out all this rage? Why even give away? Because this is another fucking blunder. Is Kirk dead? I don't know. Nobody's responding. Boom, right there. You're better off. You don't need this conversation.
Yeah.
He does sell it, though.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that it echoes. Oh, brilliant.
Through space.
Oh, here we go. This is, look at that. It's orgasmic on his face. Oh, God, that feels so good. Yeah.
I just trapped you for 6 hours.
And watching this.
Savic's like, yeah, I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep trying.
Yeah, I'm not staying with these assholes.
And like at this, why doesn't Kirk tell them now instead of waiting till the dramatic moment when he can
Because
say,
he has to look cool.
I don't like to lose.
He likes
Crunch. Spock, are you there?
Because he knows that the no-win scenario is going to come up in conversation, so he's going to use it as a he's going to look cool in
Instead
front
of
of everybody.
I'm sorry, everybody. We're not going to die here. I'm going to let you think this for a while because I don't want Khan to find out. Oh, wait, he can't find out.
I would love Chekhov to be going, what's everybody saying? I can't hear. You're all on the bad ear. I can't hear on
Yeah,
this
could
ear.
you guys turn to my other side? Turn me over.
Turn
Put on my
me
stand.
around. so
I
can
do
hear.
like, though, because there is that kind of hint here that Kirk, when he's like, we have plenty of time, and he goes, do we have anything to eat? And McCoy's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he could have
Like,
whispered
he's just, at this point, dude, Spock's coming back to get us in an hour.
He could have whispered
I'm
in his
hungry.
ear, "Hey, it's all part of the plan.
Yeah.
Just go with it. Trust me."
I'm going to fuck with McCoy, too.
Yeah, there really is no other point other than it just makes him look smart, I guess.
Yeah.
And he gets to have a nice moment after Savick asked him.
It could be ego.
10
he just
months
wants
in spacesuits.
10 months. It could be ego. He just wants to look good because he made that such a huge mistake earlier by not putting up the damn shields.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, see, Savick? I'm smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're smart enough to outwit the no-win situation, but you can't raise your shield when a ship is lying to you.
No, because he's like, fuck the rules. I don't need that shit.
Actually, you know what? That's probably what got him in trouble. He
Yeah.
cheated in the no-win scenario, and he was trying to cheat in that one.
Ooh, it all ties back together.
Yeah.
What I think about it is the fact that Walter Koenig
He
had
cheated
to,
at the video game that really had no meaning, and
Yeah.
now constantly kill everybody he knows.
Yeah. The thing that doesn't really
There are
to his
always
character,
possibilities.
that Walter Koenig had to lie there this whole time with his hand to his ear.
Yeah, that's so sad.
Poor guy.
As if the accent's not bad enough.
Oh, yeah, for those of you that don't know, he doesn't actually have an accent.
Yeah, I always, this is one
Again,
of the
I
few
did
times.
what you wanted. I stayed away.
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell him? Yeah, why didn't you tell him?
Oh, so he didn't, yeah.
How can you ask me that? Because he deserves to know who his father is.
That's a good point. Yeah, this is one of the few times we actually get to see Kirk be vulnerable, at least so far, later on in this, the other movies we do, but,
Yeah, she didn't want him chasing through the universe with his father. I don't want him to have a free will and choose what he wants.
what is this
Well,
free will you speak
Part
of?
of this happens because Carol Marcus is a bad mother.
But part of it also happens because David Marcus is a fucking idiot. We learned that in the next movie.
Well, yeah, because he is like his father.
Well,
It's
yeah, he jumps to conclusions. I wouldn't say he's unintelligent.
He changed the rules of the test.
But he doesn't ask. He doesn't find out for himself. Okay, his mom isn't going to tell me. Well, let me check my genetics, and because I'm sure there's a database, and let me look up to see who else is a relative of me. Oh, look at this. There's a 99% chance that James T. Kirk is my father. Well, he's a dick.
Yeah, I mean, they have private investigators and stuff like that here.
Yeah.
I mean, shouldn't they would in the future, too? Why not?
But see, that's this. You wanted to raise him to be some hippie scientist instead of an ass kicker. And if she had, he would have not been stupid enough to try and take on an armed Klingon in the next movie.
And get himself killed.
Yeah.
He probably would have at least lasted at least 10 more seconds. In that
Well, yeah.
fist
I
fight.
mean, if you're more like Kirk, then you would figure out a way to, like, trick the Klingon or something. You're not going to beat the Klingon with a knife. Not when his friends have guns too.
You're going to lose that scenario.
Yeah, so
there's a no-win scenario.
Yeah, right there. Well, yeah,
But
that was a real test. That was a real test of character for David.
Yeah.
It's not the Kobayashi Maru. Yeah.
Power restored.
But sorry, what were you saying?
Impulse power restored. How the fuck do these guys fix the ship?
Well, they all studied up, you know.
Studied up or not?
They are super smart people.
Yeah.
I understand, but their ship is damaged. Do they have parts? Where are the parts at?
All the spare parts.
Like, seriously, I can understand an actual experienced starship crew being able to cobble together things and get it to work, but it's 50 people on a ship that's built for 250, 350 people.
Mm-hmm.
How the fuck did they fix it?
How big is Regula?
It's got to be
I
at
don't
least size of a moon, our moon at least, or a little bigger.
Okay, and where exactly is this cave?
It's inside.
Inside.
So
Why is there
where's
light?
the gravity coming from?
Or
Well,
the
the
light?
light is when. Well, maybe they dug a hole in the planet and the side of the planet so the sun could shine in, so they could get a nice view.
Well, if there's
But
a
where's
hole,
the gravity coming from?
Wait,
Well,
time out.
well, if Regula is about the size of Earth, they would have Earth gravity, right?
But I don't think it's the size of Earth. I mean, look at how
Does it look
small that
Yeah,
thing is.
I suppose.
compared to it.
It doesn't. That part doesn't matter.
And don't they call it a moon?
Where the hell is the light coming from?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because if you have cut a hole through, and let's say there's a force field just protecting it from the outside of space, but that means you can shine a fucking sensor array inside, and you go, hey, look, there's Kirk right there. Well, why don't we just fire our
this
phasers at
big
it?
giant rock in space has got jungle in the middle.
Right. Sensors should be able to pick that shit up.
Is this supposed to be the Garden of Eden?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's eating an apple. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So we find out he cheated, and this sets up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way,
Oh, by the way, that test we were talking about all this movie, it's complete bullshit, by the way.
I don't believe in the no-win scenario.
I don't like to lose. Yeah.
Spock, you there?
But it's just so Kirk, you know what I mean? It's perfect.
And also, the communicators got bigger too.
Yeah. Well, they got cooler.
It's a cool Kirk moment. I will not deny that.
I don't like to lose. Crunch.
See here, did you notice that they actually have somebody remove their jackets? They have a wardrobe guy. Right there.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'll take that for you. Why were you wearing this
Here.
this whole time? I don't know. Because it's
You
cold.
can have this other fancy jacket.
See, we have to change you back. Yeah.
Well, make sure they're there with our jackets. We don't want to have to go into battle or something without our jackets on.
Yeah. I mean, they do have
Wait, did
space.
did they clean Kirk's?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they did.
Wow. So let's clean the blood off the captain's shirt for.
Well, they must have a dry cleaning service. I mean, they do have, a space janitor in the beginning of the movie, so why not?
Well, I will give there really shouldn't be a reason why he has blood on his costume after that. Maybe that's why they changed him.
I mean, blood after the scene where Scotty's nephew dies?
Right. Once there's blood on there, once you have a moment, I'm going to take this off so you guys can clean this up, or I can get a different one.
Sure.
I'll wear this goofy jacket. Oh, why are you wearing that, Savik?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he could have just buttoned up his thing and it would have covered the blood either way. I mean, I would think that he wouldn't have time to worry about that kind of thing with this guy coming after him, trying to kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah, regular doesn't look that big, so the gravity is probably a little off. It'd probably be like 1/6 gravity, like on the moon.
Now, one thing that's interesting, just a quick story, is back when I was younger, we played the Star Trek role-playing game, and one of the guys who was on the who was playing it, you could make specialties for your character, and he made his specialty. His character was an expert on Captain Kirk, so he could sort of roll against a what would Kirk do in this scenario sort of thing, and he thought that would help his character. And then we watched this movie, and we're like, well, actually, whenever there's a problem, Kirk just goes, Spock situation, and Spock basically tells him what to do. And he's like, Mutara Nebula. Let's go to the Mutara Nebula.
That's Kirk's secret, Spock.
Yes. So it's like you're an expert on Kirk's career. What would Kirk do in the situation? He would ask Spock what to do.
Here's another thing from the Nitpicker's Guide. In the 23rd century, why do they have to manually lift the grates for the torpedo? Yeah. And this is one of the most badass montage scenes,
and that's the thing is it's Nicholas Meyer sacrifices a lot of logic to kind of drive home some of the nautical things and some of the themes going in, that it's like, it doesn't make any sense, but in a movie, in the submarine movies he's trying to emulate, that's what they do.
Okay, wait a second. This dude's got like a little clipboard in his hand back there in the background. It looks like he was right. It looks like he was doing something. He was busy, right? If they're so spread thin on this ship, why are they all standing around on the bridge? Shouldn't they be busy doing stuff, trying to run the ship? Yeah.
There would be no way that 50 people could actually run that ship.
And I don't care what anybody says. These special effects still look pretty damn good.
They did a fantastic job on this end battle.
Well, people say
actually, most of the effects that they did were good. It's just that they had to reuse other ones.
Now, is it? I know this is the same looking effect that they use in Best of Both Worlds. Do they refer to it as the Mutara Nebula in Best of Both Worlds? Where they hide from the Borg. Because it looks the same.
I don't believe so.
Again. Well, of course, the nebula goes away because the nebula's not there in Star Trek 3.
Oh, yeah.
It's just called the Mutara Sector.
Oh, yeah. Mutara Sector restricted. Yeah.
Yeah, so, there's it's hard to tell how far away they are from the nebula.
Well, it couldn't be that far because they're moving at like less than impulse, right? So they've got to be pretty dang close. That's why I always figured that. Well, that maybe it could have been regular.
But you also forget how fast impulse is. that's the thing, because you think in terms of warp speed being faster than light, which is all cool, but half of light speed is incredibly fast. You can go
incredibly far. Right, but if you're talking
far.
about two systems, the closest system to us is 4 light years. Mm-hmm. So at impulse speed, you're going to take 2 years to get there.
Right.
So if they're going to, so the nebula can't be farther than.
Oh, it's not a light year.
It has to be in the same solar system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's in the same solar system. Definitely.
Well, yeah, it certainly seems like the Genesis planet. And again, we'll see. Maybe I'm just remembering it wrong. Oh yeah, I like that. It's like, fuck this. We're gonna be Kirk.
Yeah, and I love the fact that we've made it this far and we haven't mentioned his chest. And according to Nick Meyer, it's real. It's a real chest.
It's his real chest.
That's what I'm just saying. Let's just get that out of. Let's clear the air. Then right there.
That's why we didn't mention it.
There's another thing we have to clear the air is, what's with Khan's haircut? He's on the planet. He gets bangs.
Yeah,
and they do things down there and a little.
Well, because in Space Seed, he had his
he had a ponytail.
Yeah, but it was black, dark hair, right? And
right.
So here it's gray and long. I don't know why he would have bangs, other than it just looks cool. I don't know.
All of a sudden, he switches from a fairly utilitarian to kind of a puffy.
Well, a lot of time went by.
It's the '80s. That was big, but mostly with heavy metal chicks.
That's totally who we should have totally asked Chris Wood to be on this one.
Yeah, look how it's kind of like combed back on the sides and then like brought forward a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little mullet-esque almost too.
A little bit, a little kind of hockey hairish, kind of.
But yeah,
a little bit.
I always did like the little kind of broken Federation emblem.
Oh, that he's wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that he snagged off of someone, I guess.
Is that like from someone's belt?
That's what I always kind of thought. Like he must have ripped that off.
I was like,
something.
dude, you ripped off a dude's belt buckle? What the fuck is that? That's not.
No, he made that.
He made it out of. Yeah.
Now, see, this is interesting here because the two ships are not level.
Nope.
Right.
Mm-mm.
So at some point they get level.
Well, because you're going to see the Enterprise sink down here in a second.
Yeah, Enterprise goes down.
Yeah.
And then Enterprise comes back up. Enterprise moves up and down. The what is that? The y-axis.
That
Yeah.
it all comes from that line that's coming up. He shows a two-dimensional thinking.
Right.
Because Khan wouldn't be aware of moving in 3 dimensions because he's from the past where we don't have ships that move through the air and fight. Maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right.
Again, if he's so fucking smart, he can't figure out up and down.
And even if there's supposed to be like submarines, there's up and down in the water.
Yeah, he's been there.
But
it's like,
still,
why would he assume he's fighting on land?
And why doesn't Kirk make that assumption? He's thinking 2-dimensionally, isn't he? Till Spock actually says that. He's like, "Oh, we can go up and down in space. I forgot."
And then it's like, if that's the case, why do they come back up? Can't the phasers shoot up?
Yeah.
Just go down and shoot up.
How about this lovely thing? Why is it that they're facing each other at the level, like the top of the ship and the top of the ship?
Yeah.
It's space. They don't have to face each other like that at all.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
None.
Except then you don't get this cool, hey, we almost collide thing. And wait, it looked like one was, are they just sort of spinning around in circles?
Yeah, I guess.
It seems that way. Yeah, they're kind of clueless as to what direction they're going. They have no sensors, other than just their eyes, right? So, I love the way these two ships attack each other. It's very nautical, like the way cannons would shoot off of old sailing ships, It's really neat. So if this was supposed to be his son, this scene would, I guess, make more dramatic sense, even though,
it's not in the movie.
You would just assume, they're really good friends, sure.
And certainly like a first in command.
Well, here's a nitpick, for me
Yeah.
anyway, that Scotty or Kirk would have actually made the order, okay, well, someone's got to go in there and fix it, so someone's got to die.
Yeah.
They made that decision in the Next Generation episode of Thine Own Self, I think, where in order to pass the bridge test, Troy had to let Geordi go into a conduit filled with radiation to repair something.
Right.
So they would have made that same decision here, right?
Yeah.
Don't you think? Yeah, so this situation would have happened. They would have been able to warp out of there a long time ago. You've been, hey, Scotty, send your nephew. Oh, I'm sorry, he's dead. Send somebody else in there.
Point, well, they do say something about nothing human can survive in there or something. Right. And so maybe a human couldn't have lasted as long.
Even with a suit on, you would think?
How about a radiation suit?
Well, yeah, even with a suit, if it's not going to kill you immediately, you can still do something before you die, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why does it have to be the first officer?
Right.
Yeah, it would have been somebody.
Because he didn't want to be on this in this franchise anymore.
That's true. And he wanted a cool death scene. Yeah. Two-dimensional thinking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's like, oh yeah, I forgot about
yeah.
that. I got him now. Yeah.
You saved my ass again, Spock.
I'm always disappointed that the Enterprise never fights something upside down.
It would look kind of goofy. it would make sense in space, but it would look kind of funny.
It looks goofy.
Although in the new movie, there's a lot more movement in the ships.
Yeah, there is. But the Narada doesn't have a up or down, if that makes any sense. It's a tentacle ship, so you don't really have this is the top and that's the bottom. But these ships all have a top and a bottom.
Yeah.
And they always face each other with both their tops up and both their bottom. Like, it's just the way it works. But in space, that's not how.
Well, why would they even be approaching on the same level? Why wouldn't one be coming up from below, basically?
Below, because
above or at any number of angles. Yeah, here, why does it have to creep up behind?
Yeah,
because it looks cool.
Well, yeah.
Other than that, I don't know.
Oh, I'm not just talking about this movie. I'm talking about all of Star Trek.
See, that's a lot of what we're talking about here are things that just run through Star Trek and run through science fiction, and
it is actual two-dimensional thinking, because if you are actually thinking in that,
the rationale becomes the same reason why we hear things blowing up.
Yeah, we actually shouldn't hear that. You're right.
Yeah,
but I'm not going to nitpick that.
See, at least we see some of the crew around the ship, so at least they were doing something, human engineering. They weren't just standing around. Oh yeah, we've got a job to do here. We got vengeance on our mind.
Except for that guy with the clipboard.
Exactly.
You should get a screenshot of that, Mike. That should be the actual picture of this episode.
And of course, the way that the ship is listing here,
Yeah.
That also doesn't happen in space.
No.
Well, it could list. Why not? It could just.
Well, because
It would just keep turning, right?
Well, no, because in space, even one thruster is going to move you forward. There's no resistance.
Right.
Well, I mean, if you with one thruster, the ship could still, right? I mean, couldn't it still be off balance?
No,
in space.
You only need that for aerodynamics.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just moves in a straight line.
If you're pushing in one direction.
Yeah, he got messed up here.
Yeah, a little bit.
No, he didn't. He's fine.
He could still be okay. Maybe.
You are ordered
I love this with the Genesis device. Why is the Genesis device the seconds? Why are they faster seconds? Why don't they use regular seconds? You ever think about that? I don't know.
Why is the device on the fucking bridge? How about that?
Well, they brought it up there just in case,
Just in case.
And then I like how basically, so you activate this thing by just like twisting some knobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Doesn't it have a remote control? Is that how they would have to set it off?
Well, they have a button for everything else. Why wouldn't they just have a button for that? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, like this complicated procedure.
And then
It's like two keys turning at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And then he turns it.
Mm-hmm. He just turns
Wow.
it. Yeah.
He didn't turn it. Did you notice that? It doesn't move at all.
Oh, it looked like it. Oh, no, it did. It does. The inside of it, you can see a little bit.
I think it's just his hand moving on it, on the outer edge. Oh wait, that
that
way.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
But those other ones were not moving.
Well, he was play acting there maybe a little bit.
And let me stop to quote some Moby Dick.
Well, he's gonna do
because I
some-
had that with me.
He's gonna do some more. It's brilliant.
Although you would think that he would have actually read Moby Dick forever ago.
You know, I love that, when the thing comes up, it just like this light comes up, it just says commit, and it's a backlit sign. That's the only thing it says.
Commit. Yeah.
Commit or not.
It should have
Was
just
that
said. It should have
lava?
just said, "Oh shit." Oh what? What lava?
On his science station, on his science console, there was just like lava there.
Well, you mean like
Yeah,
the blinking?
there's a lot of weird
the
things
blinking
that-
lights up there in orange.
Not the blinking lights. The blue thing that he's looking at now was red, and it looked like a lava flow.
Maybe it could have been some part of the nebula he was looking
I
at.
love how David has his nice sweater tied around his neck.
Yeah,
Very
He's
preppy.
he's so fashionable.
that's why he gets stabbed in the gut.
Let me go sacrifice my life to go save the ship instead of
And-
sending in one of these cadets.
Why does Kirk never notice that Spock is not at his station? Do you ever think about that?
I know. We're in the middle of a crisis, and my first officer just gets up and leaves, and it's like,
Yeah.
now, Spock?
Well, like-
Rephrase that. The first officer that I always ask for
Yeah.
advice is gone.
Spock. I don't know what to do next.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of moments when they're just sitting on the bridge. Time from my mark when everybody's looking around at each other. Don't you think
Yeah,
we would have looked over there?
shouldn't you just say, hey, I'm going to go do this?
Right.
Here you just,
And especially like
yeah.
McCoy's like, no, you can't do it. You'll die.
Mhm.
We're all going to die otherwise.
No human can
Well, I do like the fact that McCoy does come to that defense. I'm not letting you go in there. I don't care if you are a green-blooded son of a bitch.
Well, right, but it's like, if you don't go in there, we're all going to die. If you go in there, you're going to die. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Doesn't he know logic either?
Well, I don't think that he.
Although I do love this.
There's-
Sorry, Doc.
Is this the insert shot that they did later when he puts his
Yeah.
hand on his face? Remember,
Wait.
here we go.
There he goes.
Didn't exist beforehand. Just to remind us that there's radiation. I love it.
Yeah.
Warning, do not enter, allow 2 hours. It said allow 2 hours before something on the sign. I missed it. I can't read backwards.
And again, radiation suit.
He's wearing one. He's always wearing it. Yeah.
This scene I have seen reenacted by Chad Randall and Werner Wilmer 100 times, drunk off their ass at Chad's house.
Hey, look, he's at Spock's station, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Where's
should notice
Spock?
there's nobody there.
Wow, he doesn't notice.
He doesn't notice that he's gone. Yeah. Spock, you turned invisible. You're wearing Harry Potter's cloak for a second there. Yeah. I mean, this is
So
a
I
great
pop this top off and
Fiddle
just turn it
around.
up so it's really light.
fiddle around a little bit. Let's see here. I can't see anything, so let's move the thing over there, and that'll
Oh
work.
no, it's radiation. It's fried out my eyeballs.
Yeah.
Like if it's supposed to be
No, those
potent-
Vulcans have that inner lid.
Oh, that's right, they do.
They have an inner lid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
what-
they have an inner eyelid that was
Because of
from
Vulcan.
That was from the original series.
Oh, it's in the TOS.
Spock went blind or something like that.
3 minutes.
They have
30
it in
seconds.
her eyelid because of all the sand and crap that's on Vulcan.
Yeah, like
don't you think
everyone
he would've
just standing around tensely.
So don't you think David would have sat down in his chair? Well, Spock's gone. I guess I better sit down. Unless I want to look dramatic here. Yeah, he could have sat there. Then he would have noticed he was gone.
I love David. Look at David.
No.
The head shake. Nope, not going to make it. This is one of the great music cues, but no, there's plenty about that. But I mean, the fact that he gets. I mean, I wish I would have some great one-liners to say to somebody like this when I passed on, but I don't think I could ever do the justice that Ricardo Montalban does here.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I met him in person. I didn't, unfortunately, when I had him autograph my DVD. My brother did, but he said he was quite magnificent even in person.
You know, there's very few Star Trek people other than Mr. Shatner himself that aren't really nice and grateful to actually have what they have because of Star Trek.
Really?
Like oh yeah, almost all of them are really, really nice. I've met.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I've always been afraid that they...
Now, see,
would be
immediately
jerks.
the nebula's gone.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, you're right. What, did it suck it all in or something?
I don't
guess.
know. And then it's got all this stuff going out, and now this weird halo starts forming of the Genesis wave. And they're escaping it.
Did they explain what the difference is between the Genesis wave and just the Genesis torpedo itself? I mean, as the torpedo goes off on that demonstration we saw, is that what the wave becomes? At the when it's going over that place, is that the wave? Okay, so it's just.
So yeah, they never really identify what do we see?
No,
Are we seeing
look, that's the focal point of where the wave is. If you look, there's the outer edges, and everything's coming together. It's the nebula.
Okay.
Thank you.
Engine room.
It's one of the goddamn things.
now he figures out that
Spock is gone.
Yeah.
Takes him
Well
a while.
done, Scotty.
Well, nobody notices that he's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nobody. I mean, don't you think even Savick would look over just to the other Vulcan on the bridge? It's like, oh, this is pretty scary shit, isn't it? It's glad we're not showing any emotion, right? Oh, you're not there. But
Yeah.
it took him a while to notice, yeah. See, now it's a planet
so
already.
that's the planet forming.
Formed
Yeah,
pretty
that's the
damn
planet
quick.
forming. It's from the nebula.
This is a brilliant piece of music that wasn't available for the longest time. I love this. It's run down to engineering. And a nitpick here, why are they all standing around?
Yeah.
What are they looking? Are they just looking at Spock dying? It's like, man, glad we're not in there.
How about somebody put on a radiation suit and go in and get him?
Yeah, or somebody stick a
Well,
pole
no,
in there. You know?
You'll float the whole compartment.
Yeah, you flood
That's
the whole.
why
That's really
this-
poor design then.
Yeah. But no, actually, the design, if you read it, it said, give 2 hours if you open that.
Yeah, I mean, they would have like an inner door and an outer door or something like that. Is that what you're thinking?
They should. They
yeah,
should.
well, of course. But you wouldn't have this
Or
cool death scene.
Radiation suits.
Or suits. I read that Shatner in the development process wanted this to be not a see-through plexiglass, but they would be silhouettes.
Oh, that would actually be
Interesting.
even better.
You think? I don't know. if
Oh,
it would-
yeah. The
It-
fact that he can't actually share the last moment visually with his best friend in the world.
I don't know if it visually would have worked, but it sounds interesting,
Yeah.
I don't know if it would have worked, but
I'd
yeah.
be curious as to how they would have shot it, but it would have been interesting and it would have been more painful, and I think that's probably
Yeah.
why they didn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine the angles would have been the same. It would just be silhouettes instead of actually seeing them. But
Yeah, and the pain, like the fact that he can only see a silhouette of Spock, and hearing that he's dying, he hears that he's dying, and he can't even see him. He can't even
Yeah.
help him.
yeah, and we see the silhouette of the live long and prosper
But that
hand
doesn't
sign.
give
yeah.
the audience the satisfaction
That's why it's changed.
of giving them a final moment. And again, we have a callback to the Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the whole life and death thing was laid on pretty thick throughout the whole movie. I mean,
Now this is a Kobayashi Maru, not the
mhm.
little pansy video game they play at Starfleet Academy.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, he did say, I never took the test until now, so I guess in this continuity, he didn't write it, I guess.
Well, just because you wrote it doesn't mean you took it.
Well, don't you think he would have had to take it if he's writing it, to test it out?
No.
You would think. I mean, it would make sense. And it certainly doesn't. And you think that when all of this talk about the Kobayashi Maru came up, at some point somebody said, well, Spock wrote it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would think. Yeah. You know, the makeup. Do you think it really holds up? I mean, it's easier to see the imperfections with the DVD, but
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't expect, modern level of makeup in something like this. But yeah, it is certainly worse than I remember it.
you know, when I think of people with radiation sickness, you know, I think of like K-19 or Fat Man and Little Boy. You know, do you guys recall that movie, Fat Man and Little Boy? Oh, there's a scene where it's taking place in Los Alamos and they're experimenting, and what's his name? John Cusack gets a really high dosage of radiation, and his body just completely falls apart. He doesn't look at all human anymore, almost. But here, Spock still looks pretty human. Well, Vulcan anyway.
It's because of his Vulcan physiology.
Oh yeah. I mean,
isn't that symbol from Legend of Zelda? Yeah, it was.
The Triforce?
Yeah, it was the Triforce. The Triforce killed Spock. I had no idea.
You know, and I did notice for the longest time that Scotty plays the bagpipes.
That's so funny.
I can't believe I never noticed.
Now, you never noticed it was Scotty playing the bagpipes?
Well, I mean, now I know. But like, as a kid, I just never saw him playing the bagpipes. I just always looked somewhere else on the screen or something like that. I just never noticed.
Now, is it proper to just shoot the body into space?
Well, it's tradition, right?
I mean,
it is naval tradition, but it is not tradition in Starfleet.
Well, but I mean, so if your child is in the Navy, they're not going to bring the body back?
Well, not now, but we're talking.
No, but even now?
Oh, now they do. Yeah.
So that's the thing is it's like most, like, ultimately Savik's or Savik, Spock's father, what's his name? Sarek is right when he's like, why didn't you bring my son's body back to me?
Right.
Why did you shoot it off into space? I mean, that's really, it's kind of like, well, because that's the only way we could possibly get a sequel. Well, and here, is she crying?
Yeah, she's crying. She's crying, majorly crying. Yeah, it's very un-Vulcan.
And like, I'm going to wear my sexy hair now.
Yeah, she's actually
at the funeral of my mentor.
Noticeably upset.
And it's because she was getting ready to audition for Cheers, so she wanted her hair down. But
and not just noticeably upset, like super noticeably upset. Like when you think of it, if she's just full Vulcan, that is a full-on breakdown for a Vulcan.
Yeah, that's not really possible.
Right.
Well, that's why, and I like because in the idea of her being a half Romulan, that was why Spock sponsored her, because he understood going through Starfleet, half Vulcan is bad enough, but when the other half is Romulan, who are very passionate people, that's going to be problematic.
Wow.
And yeah, now here's a star.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there must have been
quite a distance away.
Well, you got to imagine it's, comparatively...
They're not really very clear as to how everything fits together.
No, they're a little vague. I mean, that's why we're making all these suppositions.
Is that a bottle of champagne next to him?
Yeah, It looks like it. I mean, he didn't know he was going into this situation. I mean, I guess he thought McCoy and he would share a bottle of bubbly later.
And he broke his glasses.
Well, the ones that he's going to sell in a couple of movies.
And even like going back to that, it's like they don't have contact lenses in the 23rd century. They don't have LASIK.
Yeah.
Well, how convenient. He's allergic to Retinax 5. What about Retinax 1 through 4?
Well, yeah, and
we need to give him granny glasses.
And the Kobayashi Maru is a Mark IV simulator. What are the other 3 marks like? You ever think about that? I don't know.
There's a lot of Mark IVs. Wasn't the torpedo a Mark IV?
It's a Mark 6. I thought it was a Mark 6 torpedo. That's what I thought. Well, we'll find out.
Who the hell is Mark?
Yeah.
I don't know, but he's got his name on a lot of different things.
Seriously.
I haven't faced death. I've cheated death.
And well, here Kirk learns that he shouldn't have cheated. Of course, doesn't he just get his dead friend back?
Yeah.
Well,
at the cost of his son?
You would think he wouldn't have to go through all this to learn that lesson that cheating is bad.
Well, at the cost of a son that he had no real connection to.
I get my old buddy and first officer back.
Well,
I lost a son I just met.
I mean, it's completely flipped. I mean, here he loses his best friend, gains a son. The next movie, gets his best friend back, loses his son. It's completely reversed.
Yeah, then he loses his ship, and then the next movie he gets a better one.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't suck to be Jim Kirk. Yeah, he's faced death.
Yeah.
He's still cheating. He cheats death when he goes to the nebula. Now he'll never die.
The Nexus.
Oh, the Nexus.
Nexus, whatever.
Yeah, I still want to do a Star Trek 4 one where I just tear it apart. I hate that movie.
You and Brian.
Do you really hate it, or you just not like it?
Oh, I really don't like it. I don't hate it. Like, I can still watch it, but I
can assume you don't have as much, venom for that as you do as Insurrection, right?
I actually have more for that.
For Insurrection?
No, for
Oh,
Star Trek 4.
Really?
Insurrection doesn't inspire me with venom. It bores me.
It puts me to sleep. I mean, it's a fine movie. It's just kind of not interesting.
Yeah.
Actually, it's pretty good in like 20-minute, half-hour increments. And then I get kind of bored.
Yeah, but Star Trek 4 to me is like I still wish they would have played it as a period piece.
Oh yeah, so they are picking up the crew of the Reliant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All is well, except my friend's dead.
Yeah.
He fired him into space.
Well,
they
back in the days of Horatio Hornblower, which is what Captain Kirk was based off of. I guess that was what they did. They did in Starship Troopers too. They released Dizzy out into space. I mean, that's. I wouldn't call it an uncommon thing to do. I mean, I wouldn't say it's even the regulation in the 23rd century, but I think that maybe he did intend on going back and picking him up, but he wanted to give him a good send-off.
But they really wouldn't have had any idea that, and actually, the way it was written, they didn't have the little soft landing thing.
No.
Originally. That was added later. That was not something Meyer wanted to do.
When you really think about it, it got lucky it landed on the planet. Because if you fire a torpedo into space, it just keeps going.
Well, even then, if it went into the planet, it probably would have burned up in the atmosphere, right?
Yeah.
But it was still in flux, so they didn't know.
Well, when a photon torpedo looks like it's converted into energy, doesn't it? I mean, it's basically a glowing ball of light.
It actually has it's got a glowing ball, but it actually is something. There's something physically hitting with photon torpedoes. And quantum torpedoes, for that matter. Phasers are just energy. I don't know why I know that.
I don't know, but I do know that.
So this is all added.
Yeah, well, I do know that McCoy said something about he's not dead as long as we remember him. I know that they used that in Seinfeld.
Yeah.
That was that was a good callback Seinfeld did. But this is added, right? And I don't think Nick Meyer wanted this to be there.
No, he didn't. I remember, like, when this came out, there was a lot of, like, I think I see him in the background there. I think I saw a shape. It looks like Spock. He's alive.
Well, I mean, I wish I could have seen this in the theater, in its initial run. I'm not old enough, unfortunately. But
I could have seen it, but I was 5.
Mark, yeah, there it is, Mark 6.
I saw it opening night.
Wow.
I used to touch that every day. That's still crazy to me. I used to touch that photon torpedo on a daily basis.
Did you get to lie in it and whatnot?
No, I never got to lie in it because it was strapped closed by the time I started working there.
Oh, okay.
And yes, it did open up.
As a coda here, this is pretty amazing. Spock delivers this brilliantly. It's a nice pan over though, but him doing this that we've only heard Kirk do, it's just this is nice.
And
it's really touching.
It's a mix.
It's a mix of what?
Of the old one and Next Gen.
Oh, I see.
Well, because they don't say 5-year mission.
Well, they did, but it does say no man, as
Right.
opposed to no one.
It says continuing mission, which is what Picard says.
All right, well, that was Star Trek 2.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
That was we tore it apart as best we could.
And I think
I love this movie.
And I think we were very respectful of it. We're obviously Star Trek lovers, but I think
And ultimately, though, we were just talking about the bad stuff, and even we had to stop and go, "This is fucking awesome."
Well, yeah, I mean, during that whole scene, we're like, "Well, this is just kick ass." I mean, come on.
And most of the nitpicks are, things that they just didn't feel were necessary. I mean, there's a lot of conveniences, but
they aren't necessary because it's still a good movie.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's not. These emotions and these movements, and a lot of it is the type of things that happen in Star Trek stories. and if you don't like that, then you're not a Star Trek fan, so you don't watch it.
Right.
But yeah, this actually was fun. I don't feel as bad about saying things about it as I thought I would.
You finally had. I'm glad you finally had the opportunity to get this all off your chest, because
Yes.
you and I had been exchanging emails for a while beforehand, and you would constantly bring up like, oh, "What about that scene on the bridge when I can't believe it?" I'm like,
Yeah,
I never thought about it. I'm like, man, he's got a lot to say about this.
honestly, this all did start from a discussion with Michael Felsher about Star Trek 3, when he said, and he actually brought this up in the commentary that we recorded, if the Genesis planet is such an important deal, why do they only send just this one vessel, and there's no, why are there not 100 ships guarding this planet?
Mm-hmm.
And in that movie, I think they do kind of explain it a little bit in terms of it's just forbidden and it's contested. Maybe actually this doesn't occur in Federation space. Maybe this is uncharted or unclaimed space or something like that. Who knows? But there's at least a little implication in that. And I was like, well, wait a minute. Why wouldn't they have people? Why wouldn't they have that many people surrounding the regular space station? And then after I thought about it, I was like, well, that's true. Why would they do that? And you start looking at the movie and you're going, well, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense either. And if that doesn't make, like, I always had a problem with, like, Kirk was supposed to raise the shields. This is all his fault.
Right.
This is not good. But yeah, it's still, and the thing is, a great movie is great because we don't care about any of that stuff when we're watching. We're just going, oh my God, this is awesome.
Right. So everything can be picked apart very easily.
Yeah, I mean, and that's like one of the things that actually I do like about your show is, certainly all the commentaries that I've been a part of, and I've been ones that were about movies that are generally despised by people, but there's still good stuff in all of those. There's good stuff in Batman and Robin to some extent. I mean, there's fun things about it,
Mm-hmm.
and Revenge of the Sith, and really all but a few really, really, truly horrible movies have something worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Just as even great movies have things that are like, well, we could try to explain this better, but that's not important to what we're trying to do. We're trying to entertain. We're trying to communicate something else.
People love Star Trek 09, but there's a lot of convenience in that movie.
That movie, that's just like this. I mean, there's so many things you just have to accept so that the movie moves forward. And most Star Trek movies seem to do that, to the point where it's like that's almost Star Trek's thing.
Yeah. The best ones do it.
It's just like bad sets.
Yeah.
Paper mache rock and contrived plot conveniences are the heart of every Star
All those
Trek.
paper mache rocks are just so much fun, though, But as we wrap up the credits here, we did. I think you were very respectful. Like I said, both of you were, but this was kind of Mike's kind of idea from the start, and he was very respectful. He was worried he was gonna come off like a jackass, but I think you were quite respectful of the movie, the fact that you still love it. But there's a lot of things.
Love this movie.
There's still a lot of things you want to point out, and both of you were very respectful, and I hope I was too. And I love this film. Whether you consider this to be your favorite or what, I mean, everybody's favorite Star Trek movie varies. Mileage may vary, but I think that it still holds up, and it's fun to nitpick. I mean, Trekkers love to do this. It's fun. I mean, they did write whole books about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and what's amazing to me is one, I just watched this movie now, spent the last 2 hours watching it, and I watched it again within the last couple of days, and that's probably got to be like my 30th time or something. I mean, I still keep watching this movie. This is one that I do just pop in. It's like, I haven't seen that one. I want to check that out. I just saw it a year ago when it played at a local sort of revival theater in 70 millimeter.
Oh, I wish I could have been there. That would have been nice.
Actually, you don't, because it was summer and it was ridiculously hot in a very, very old movie theater that didn't have good air conditioning.
But anyway, that's the end of this thing.
Yep.
It's got to be, because see, there goes the Paramount logo.
Yeah, the movie just ended. So I just want to thank everybody for sticking with us and allowing us to nitpick one of the greatest Star Trek films in the Star Trek canon, and it was a real pleasure to have Mike.
What can we tear up next?
Star Trek 09, a motion picture, if we can, yeah. But I just want to thank
Star Trek 6, baby.
Oh, we did that already.
Yeah, they did a Trek 6 one.
Yeah, I know.
Where there was a little bit of bashing there, but mostly love. Damon, you want to do a 4? I'll do a 4. Although I like 4. I like it a lot.
Well, then,
When was the last time you watched it?
It's actually been beginning to end. It's been a while, but I watched chunks of it. See, I like the humor and a lot of stuff you don't like about it.
I don't mind the humor. I just the fact that it's touted as anyway. This is over.
Save it for the Star Trek program.
all right. Well, I just want to thank both you guys for coming on and letting me do this commentary with you, inviting me to it. So thanks a lot. I appreciate it. And
Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for being on.
And
You're the commentaries are your thing. So we always, I feel that, like, well, Damon, you do the Batman ones, but movie stuff, we've done these on your show. So when we think of commentary, we think of you.
Well, thanks. And be sure to check out Geek Fights at geekfights.net. And you're still doing Into the Batcave, right?
Nope.
Oh, you stopped doing that?
Yep.
Well, you still have them available, though, I assume. So you can still check that out.
I guess. I don't know. I don't know if they're still available.
Yeah, I don't know. We should look into that.
We should take a look into that. But yeah, check
They're
out.
still on iTunes, so I'm assuming they're still there.
Well, you can find us at the Soulless Minions .libsyn.com, and of course you can find Geek Fights at geekfights.net. And they've recently done over 100 episodes, and they're still rocking and rolling. So be sure to check it out. They got a lot of cool topics and a lot of cool Star Trek stuff too. Best mediocre Trek was a recent favorite of mine, so be sure to check that one out. It's pretty dang funny. I mean, what is the most average episode? I don't know, but all right. This is Josh, and I'm signing off.
Good night.
Bitches.